Alright. Maybe. There we go. Hey, hello everybody. My name is Sunny, and welcome back to the Nebraska Sports News today. We're not doing a news story. There should be a news story coming out, hopefully in the next few days. Well, actually, it'll have to come out tonight, but that's not the point. Welcome to the top 5 Nebraska players of the 2010s. This is actually a decently hard list to make. By the way, this is not based off stats or anything. This is based off of who I think the best top 5 are. So don't go raging about saying that it's not really the top 5 best or something. These are my top 5, not yours. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I encourage you to put your top 5 down in the comments below. Anyways, let's get started. Today, we're first going to look at our runner-ups. We're going to go with Stanley Morgan Jr. and Rex Burkhead. It was kind of difficult to leave out Rex Burkhead, but there's just a lot of good players from the 2010s, especially the first half of the 2010s. Stanley Morgan Jr., I put him in. Love him so much, but there's no way I could put him in the top 5. So he's at my number 6. Well, he's at my number 7 for some reason. Yeah, anyways, not the point. Anyways, the real number 5 is Taylor Martinez from the early 2010s. The only reason I'm really putting him in over someone like Tommy Armstrong or Rex Burkhead is just because of how much he rushed during his time here. 1,000 rushing yards for a QB. He did so well. So let's get into the stats. He had 7,259 passing yards, 56 total TDs, 29 total interceptions, 2,975 rushing yards, and 31 rushing TDs. If you saw this, if you just saw the bottom half, you could mistake it for a running back if you really thought about it. Maybe not the best running back out there, but a running back nonetheless. Maybe a second string type running back who just got a lot of TDs. Now, this guy was insane when he was not injured. The whole entire 2013 season he was injured, so he wasn't really playing. But his best season, really statistically, was 2012 when he had 2,871 passing yards, 23 TDs. He had 12 interceptions, but that's really not that bad compared to 23 touchdowns. He also had 1,900 rushing yards that year. And I think 10 total touchdowns. Or 10 rushing touchdowns, my bad. Which wasn't bad. But his best season rushing TD-wise was 12. And his best interception year-wise was 2011 with 8 interceptions, which is really good. I think he only had like 16 touchdowns though, or something like that. It was a lot lower. It was different. But yeah, he got progressively better every single year except 2013 when he was out with that foot injury. So yeah, that's why he's my number 5 player. Really good all around. He could have been really good. He could have been a pretty good backup spot, I think, in the NFL, but things just never panned out for him. He signed with, I think, the Philadelphia Eagles and then got waived just a few days later. Number 4 is Kenny Bell. He's a pretty iconic player with the afro, but he also was pretty good as a wide receiver. He had 2,689 receiving yards, 21 receiving TDs. He actually had 109 rush yards and 1 rushing TD. His best season was in 2012 with 863 receiving yards. His best season for TDs was that same year with 8 touchdowns. He also had his best season of 2010 for his rushing yards, which was 100 rushing yards exactly, which was kind of interesting. He also just had that 1 TD that same year as well. I don't remember him really rushing in 2010, but at the same time, I don't remember a lot of things from 2010. I'm guessing they were just mainly jet sweeps, but apparently he was good at them that year. I don't know. The stats really don't show as much, but his best season was 2012, as you can see here, with his highest receiving TD time was 8 touchdowns, which isn't a lot, I should say. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but I think he could have been utilized more. Obviously, the run game was much higher back in the early 2010s, so I think if it would have been a pro style, he would have been at least 1,200 yards probably and 15 touchdowns minimum. But with such high running amounts with the running backs we had at the time, these stats aren't that bad. Let's go on to number 3. Number 3, another one, Jordan Westerkamp. He did have some rushing stats, but there was only like 36 yards or something like that, 0 touchdowns. So I was like, I'm not even going to include it. But he had 2,474 total receiving yards and 18 total receptions. His best season was in 2015 when 918 receiving yards. Hold in a hiccup. His best season was also 2015 with 8 touchdowns. This was the Mike Riley era, which was a little interesting. I thought he would have been a little worse, actually, but apparently the scheme fit better for him. And this is kind of exceptional, I guess, with the West Coast style offense that Mike Riley brought in instead of the smash mouth type offense that Bo Pelini had. But overall, the reason I put him in front of Kenny Bell, even though he might not have his greatest stats, was just because of the amount of skill this guy has. Like I said, if he would have been in an air raid or spread or even a pro style offense where passing was more main, he could have easily had more than 1,300 receiving yards and over 15 touchdowns. But the fact is that year was a really big slump year for the entire Nebraska team in general. Tommy Armstrong wasn't as good. Everyone was not as good that year with a new coach being brought in. So it just wasn't as good in general. Number 2 is Randy Gregory, arguably one of the best DBs we've ever had. I don't think he was actually a defensive back, but I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Just can't think of it right now. Anyways, he had 62 solo tackles, 57 assisted tackles, 26.5 tackles for loss, and 16.5 sacks. Now, all of this was combined into 2 years. He was a JUCO prospect, and he was only here for 2 seasons. He could have been here for that 2015 season, but he opted to go to the NFL draft instead with Malik Collins. His best season was in 2013 with 39 solo tackles. His best season for assisted tackles was 2014 with 31. His best season for tackles for loss was also 2013 with 17. And he also had 9.5 sacks in 2013, his personal best. I think he could have easily gone to multiple Pro Bowls if he just did not smoke weed and get suspended. He could have easily been one of the best in the league by now. But this year he hasn't been doing too bad, actually, considering he's back from suspension and not playing since 2018. Hopefully he gets back on his feet and has a full season next year. But this guy was so dominant. I remember watching him in that Miami game, and he was getting booed left and right after tackling Kaya literally every play. He reminded me of the 2009 Big 12 championship with Ndamukong Suh. He was such an impressive guy. It really sucks that the NFL had to do him like that, but the rules are the rules, and you gotta follow them. And let's go to the number 1. You probably guessed it, maybe, if you didn't see him before. It's number 1, it's Amir Abdullah. Arguably the best running back we've had in the past decade. Around that Roy Healer Jr. guy, but Amir Abdullah arguably takes it for the win. He had 4,588 rushing yards, 73 TDs, 690 receiving yards, and 7 reception TDs. He was so elite that 2013-2014 season, and arguably his most memorable highlight was that 2014 McNeese State game-saving TD, which will go down in memory for me. His best season was in 2013 with 1,690 rushing yards. Also in 2013, he had 26 touchdowns in 2013. His best season receiving-wise was 2014 with 269 receiving yards, and also 2014, he had his best with 3 TDs receiving-wise. He was a pretty big dark horse for the Heisman that 2014 season, and he really showed that he could be a Heisman contender. 26 TDs and a 1,600, almost 1,700 rushing yards is very impressive for a running back. He was all around great, and really, he should have been as good in the NFL, but we're currently underutilized by the Miami Vikings with Dalvin Cook and Thielen, I think. I don't really follow the Vikings that much. But he was alright with the Lions, but he just never panned out as much in the NFL. He is still in the NFL with the Miami Vikings. Did I just say that? Minnesota Vikings. Jesus. Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. I don't know why. I think I was thinking Minneapolis, but no, it's Minnesota. But arguably, he could have been so much better. And a lot of these guys really have not played as much in the NFL. Guys like Jordan Westerkamp, Amir Abdullah, and Kenny Bell. Kenny Bell's even out of the NFL at this point. I think he's a streamer now, which is a little weird, but whatever. If you go back all the way to the back, Rex Burkhead is still in the NFL and actually had a really good season this year before he tore his ACL. Stanley Morgan Jr. is on a practice squad for the Cincinnati Bengals. Taylor Martinez is out of the NFL. Kenny Bell's out of the NFL. Jordan Westerkamp, I think, is on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't at me on that one, though. Number 2, Randy Gregory, still on the Cowboys, still doing alright. Amir Abdullah is on the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he's gotten like 2 or 3 touchdowns this entire year, which is not that good compared to 26 touchdowns in 2015. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed that video, smash the like button, subscribe. We'll see. Peace out.